Caddis Maximus here, this time with a review of the Harbor Freight Chicago Electric small pen type battery powered engraver. This is actually a 3/32 collet little Dremel tool, and these are also sold as bead engravers. When you search for micro engravers, most are this kind of cheap but okay, surprisingly Taiwanese made tool. It's just a little, takes two AAA batteries, and it's just a little motor with a button on it. They say it runs at 15,000 RPM. I got a couple of nicer alkalines in it so I can demonstrate it. This is a really rudimentary tool. The only reason I really picked it up, normally it's $9 on the shelf. Definitely use a coupon. This is not really something I would pay $9 for. I'd use a traditional engraver with a carbide tip, which I can understand for like bead work and certain types of finer work, say engraving on glass. It wouldn't work as well as a little Dremel tool. And so that's kind of what I liked about this, is it is a tiny collet Dremel tool, but it is incredibly weak. You can just see, I can just push it against my finger and stop it. So it has this little it comes with this little microscopic ball head diamond grit little rotary tool they call their engraving tool. And you know, this little thing does work fine for engraving. But the ones where it's just a little carbide tip that buzzes does do a deeper engraving job and will certainly last longer. Vibratory engravers are really the standard. They can be a little bit difficult to use, so I see why people like this. You have to go real light with it, and you can do some normal type of engraving, like, well, I'm terrible at it, but as soon as you get a little bit used to it, it's really not too bad. It's just super weak, so you can't really put much pressure on it. I wish this would focus better. There we are. I have terrible writing. And so that would be a little bit easier because you can hold this at more of a natural angle, where the ones that are vibratory, you really have to pretty much keep perpendicular. And then the way that they're bouncing off the surface does make them harder to control. Even though I had a terrible example here, I think most people would have an easier time engraving with one of these little tools. But it is incredibly weak. They do make 3/32 shank and Dremel type bits, but this thing won't run any of these things. You know, as soon as you touch any of these wire brushes or a little grinding wheel, the motor stops. It's about as weak as you can get. It's like what they use in a little toy drone. That being said, there are some options. You can get little kits, like I have this little 10-piece kit here. Come on, focus. Of just little dental size. These are just some of the very smallest of 3/32 shank, where standard Dremel is 1/8 inch, so these are just next size down. And so this tool would actually work really well with any of these bits. So on the package they talk about grinding like wood and plastic. You're not going to do that with a grit diamond wheel. This is for hard metals, you know, and copper. You could get away with a little bit of copper and aluminum, but it would clog up. You'd want to periodically touch it to some wax to prevent stuff from clogging it up. However, you know, getting into plastics and especially wood, you know, there's no way. But if you get these little bits, this little thing would work okay with these. Then you would be able to engrave plastic and wood, and even do little precision shaping jobs if you're into, say, model making. And that's where I would see this being a big advantage, is all the, you know, models that people make. It's kind of surprising. A lot of them are very detailed, and you have to do little customizations on the parts. A little pen type tool like this versus, say, even like a larger full-size Dremel tool that's a 3/32 shank, or using one of those whips, this little tool is pretty lightweight and can just be held in a very natural fashion. So you get some bits like this to go along with it. And I could see for model makers, this, and, you know, architects who do models, something like this actually would be worth it. And, you know, who knows if it lasts. It has a 90-day warranty, so it would probably last long enough for it to be worth the $7 that you're paying for it. Interestingly enough, they did glue or find a way to really lock the sleeve into this front portion. I'm not sure if I put enough force I could break the sleeve out. And you could custom wire this to a little power brick that was a 3-volt power brick. The motor only uses just a couple amps of power. And then you could actually get rid of the whole stem and the weight of the batteries. And then this little thing is just a little motor with a couple lightweight wires coming off of it. Could really be very handy in some detailed type work just because it would be so compact and lightweight. It would really be pretty nice. Although having the mass of the batteries does help dampen a little bit of the vibration. Surprisingly enough, it isn't a plastic chuck. It is a little steel chuck. It comes with a little Allen wrench and a tiny little set screw. That will be super easy to lose and kind of hard to find because it's a super fine thread. But it does hold the bit pretty well. Anyway, that was my quick review of the Harbor Freight little micro engraver, which is really just a pen type micro Dremel. I really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.